Why did God make a promise but start with suffering? Why did Abraham have to sacrifice his son when he was the key to his promise? This video is more than just Bible history. It's the secret to God's eternal plan, and it could change the way you view suffering, your faith, and your future. Don't miss it. Have you ever felt you've believed, you've obeyed, you've prayed, but God's promise feels slow or even failing? Maybe you need to take another look how God's promise was fulfilled in Abraham's life, because it turns out God's promise is complete, but not always instant. Part 1. Big promises, but only son. God promised Abraham descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky, but he got only one, Isaac. Then, God asked him to sacrifice that son. It seemed as if the promise would fail, but that's where the test of faith came in. By faith, when he was tested, Abraham offered up Isaac because he considered that God was able to raise anyone from the dead. Hebrews 11 verse 17 to 19. God's promises weren't just instant rewards. There was sacrifice. There was obedience. There was time. In fact, Abraham never saw the entire land of Canaan come under his descendants' control, but he believed, and his faith was counted to him as righteousness. Genesis 15 verse 6. Part 2. The promise opens with a prophecy of slavery. In the midst of this great promise, God gives us a startling vision. Know for certain that your descendants will be aliens enslaved and oppressed for 400 years. Genesis 15:13. This is not a passage that is often preached, but it is crucial. The promise of land begins with suffering. At first glance, this seems like a contradiction, but this is how God works, not just by giving blessings, but by building faith and character. Part 3. The accuracy of promises and generation counting. Moses was the seventh biological descendant of Abraham. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Levi, Kehath, Amram, Moses. But God said, the fourth generation will come here. Genesis 15:16. This refers to the fourth generation since Israel lived in Egypt. 1. Levi came to Egypt. 2. Kehath was born in Egypt. 3. Amram. 4. Moses. God fulfilled his promises with precision. From the promise in Genesis 12 to entering the promised land in the book of Joshua, it took over 400 years and 7 generations. All of this was not a coincidence. God allowed this process to happen, because his promises are not just about the end result, but the formation of faith and character along the way. Part 4. Relevance for us today. Just as the Israelites went through Egypt in the wilderness, we too are on a journey. We too are in a process. Suffering produces endurance. Endurance produces character, and character produces hope. Romans 5:3-4. Even if that promise has not been fulfilled in our lifetime, it can be fulfilled in our children and grandchildren. The steadfast love of the Lord endures forever on those who fear him, and his righteousness to their children's children. Psalm 103:17. Don't give up. What you sow today, God will bring to pass. Maybe not on our watch, but definitely in God's time. Part 5. Conclusion. Shadows of the eternal plan. All the stories of Abraham, Isaac, Moses, and the promised land, not just history. It is a foreshadowing of God's eternal plan. Like Israel coming out of Egypt, we are also called out of sin. But our promised land is not a geographic region. It is eternal life with Christ. If we died with him, we will live also with him. 2 Timothy 2:11. If we share in his suffering, we also will be glorified with him. Romans 8:17. Before the glory, there is the cross. Before the promised land, there was a wilderness. Before the crown, there is suffering. So stay faithful. Your process today is not the end. God is at work through time, suffering, and our faithfulness. God's promises are eternal, and every process you experience can bring fruit of faith to generations after you. If you are blessed by this video, please share it with others. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, so that more people will be strengthened in their faith. We will continue in part 2 of the Foundations of Faith series. See you. God bless.